question around that.
I call the honourable member Kamuljit Bakshi.
I move the question be now put.
No, I'm going to call the honourable member Materia Tudre.
Thank you, Mr Chair. I won't take too long a call because I know that other colleagues are also very keen to continue the debate on this part. In an earlier contribution I made, I sought an assurance from the Minister who was sitting in the chair then, the Honourable Nikki Kay, as to whether or not property where schools have been closed would be used or provided to sponsors for the use of charter schools. And she gave a categorical assurance that no school property that was closed by this minister or during this term of government would be used for the purposes of a charter school. That was great. It was great to get that clarification. I have two further questions for this minister and the chair. The first is related to the issue that my colleague Tracy Martin has raised around the tracking numbers that are provided for in this legislation, the national student numbers and the information provided. Because what we've seen with previous legislation from Paula Bennett and MSD is that the tracking numbers for 16 and 17-year-olds, the information that's gathered using those tracking numbers, the national student numbers, is being passed on directly to the Ministry of Social Development for their use. And for what purpose, we can only guess. But what is really concerning here with this bill before us today is that it provides for exactly that same process for very young children, for any child who has a national student number, including young children in early childhood education in primary school and in secondary school, who are much younger than 16 and 17-year-olds. So I would like to ask this minister if she too could clarify for the House as to what provisions there are in the law that prevent the sharing of that information about a young child who may or may not be in early childhood education with the Ministry of Social Development. Because what it does is it provides a direct link that allows the Ministry of Social Development to punish parents on the basis of their educational decisions. Now, we know that this government is committed to punishing the families of very vulnerable children through their welfare reforms. We know that they have a particularly bad attitude towards sole parents and have identified them as being targets of very punitive rules. And now we have in this bill provisions that will allow for their children to be used against them by the provision of tracking information about their education through the national student numbers. Now, is there any protection for those families? We would like to know that, Minister, because that is a crucial part of this legislation that has not been made public, that families will be tracked and potentially those who are reliant not just on benefits, frankly, those maybe who are working for families. Who knows? They are also in the public system getting some kind of public support. They too may be subject to some kind of punitive or other action, depending on the decisions that they make about their children or even how well their children might be doing at school. And the second issue that I have for the Minister is, given her assurance that all the financial information about these profit-making charter schools is going to be made public, can she guarantee that not a single decision under an Official Information Act to the Minister will be that no information sought under the Official Information Act will be ruled out on the basis of commercial sensitivity? Can she guarantee that every single piece of financial information that this minister and ministry will hold will be made available, and that the commercial sensitivity rules that allow information to be kept secret will never be used for charter schools? And if she can give us that guarantee, well then that does provide us with a little bit of certainty, at least that the information they have will be made available to the public. That would be a great way to give some indication of certainty to the public. If she doesn't give that guarantee, it just goes to show again that there is a deliberate attempt here to keep financial information secret. So my question to the Minister, for the purposes of the public and their right to know, is will she guarantee that commercial sensitivity will never be used as an excuse to keep financial information about these charter schools from the public? I certainly hope that she's able to give that guarantee tonight.
I call the honourable member Ian McKelvey.
I move that the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. As many of that opinion will please say aye. To the contrary, no. Point of order. The honourable member.
Point of order, Mr. Chair. There
Prince.
is a well-established convention in the House that when a minister participates in a debate, that the opposition will be given sufficient opportunity to respond to that. The minister has responded to comments that I made in the very first speech on this debate twice now. She's been given 2 calls, responded to comments that I've made in quite an inflammatory manner. I've been seeking the call ever since then and have not been given it. This is supposed to be a debate. And shutting that debate down while the minister is making comments that the opposition is not given a chance to respond to is totally wrong.
Can I just indicate to the House, one, that I've accepted the closure, and whenever a question is being put to the House, the interruption of business is deferred until the question is determined. The question is that the motion be now. The question is that the honourable member, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr. Speaker, on the basis of the ruling you've just made, I move that we report progress in order to seek a considered ruling from the Speaker as to whether members of the opposition have a right to respond to the Minister when the Minister makes that sort of comment.
The member is certainly entitled to do so, but I'd also point out to the member Speaker's ruling 64(4), which says that the chairperson is the sole judge as to whether or not he ought to sanction the putting of the closure motion, and it must be left entirely in his hands. The chairperson who has been presiding and has listened to the debate in committee must be the best judge whether the closure ought to be put. I can only express the hope that it will not be applied too harshly. It is not for the Speaker to second-guess the Chair's judgment. Of course, if in fact the committee does not agree with the Chair's decision to accept the closure, then it's always open to the committee to vote down the question, that the question be now put. The member understands? And the member wishes to recall the Speaker? The question is that the Speaker be recalled. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. The motion is agreed to. The Speaker will be recalled. There was no objection, Mr. Mallard.
Do I leave the chair too?
No, you stay there.